Excuse me, I'm looking for the man who was in the pillory with me yesterday. Have you seen him?
I can't help you with that. You'll have to find him yourself.
I'd like to buy something. Where can I find some merchants around here?
If it's a tradesman you're after, most of them live here in the village, of course. Your best bet is to ask our merchant Jörg. He knows everyone. I'm sure he'll help you.
What's new in the county, Master Bailiff?
I heard something's going on in Takoff again. Project the Innkeeper is probably coming up with some mischief to pull on the Zhelyevites. Will they never cut it out? Their bickering is making work for me. And now I've been visited by one of the local peasants. He said he found more fresh graves behind his field, just below the village along the road to Nabokov.
What do you mean, more? You sound like this isn't the first time.
That we found someone buried here? Don't even ask. I've been digging up bodies ever since that bandit gang started running rampant. Most of them are von Burgo's men. Also, if it wasn't bad enough that gang of bandits is rampaging through the region, now someone's stealing cabbage from the peasants. What a disaster.
Cabbage?
Aye, and the peasants won't stop bugging me about it. I was just visited by a peasant from Zhidar. He's been talking my ears off for God knows how long. Say, do I really have to do this? Do I have the time to look for some moron stealing cabbages? And that's about it.
That sounds interesting. Thank you.
Welcome. You can buy everything you need from me, but excuse the selection. A few days ago, when I was returning with new goods, the horse got spooked and my wagon tipped into the pond. I salvaged some things, but the rest is now in the pond.
Were there any valuables in there?
You bet. Lord Semin ordered all sorts of delicacies and precious spices from me for the wedding feast. And for Taylor Bartishak, I was carrying expensive fabrics to make dresses for the occasion. If you only knew how much coin I spent on this.
And where did the wagon tip?
On the roads near the Katchak Pond, beyond Zhelyov. You can still find it there. I can't tell you how much it still pisses me off. But what can I do?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Me too. But what can I do? So, what will it be?
Greetings.
I heard you could use a helping hand at the forge.
I could. My last two hands, well, they're not worth mentioning. And what with the wedding coming up, the work is piling up. Ah, what do they call you?
Henry.
I'm Radovan. You should know, Henry. The blacksmithing isn't for everyone. Have you done it before?
Yeah. I basically grew up in the forge. My father was a swordsmith, and not just any. He even forged swords for the nobility.
For the nobility, eh? Well, that kind of experience will come in very handy for me indeed. As it happens, I have to forge a wedding present for young Lord Semin. A fine sword.
So you'll take me on?
Hold your horses. I'll have to try you out first. You could forge me a hunting sword as a test, so I can see if you can make a straight blade. That shouldn't give you much trouble if your father was a swordsmith, should it?
Sure thing. I can get started right away.
Great. Find some iron and get started then.
Iron?
You can't make a sword out of butter, but if you don't have your own stuff, you can get everything from the chest in my forge.
It's a deal. We'll go ahead and tell Franz and Bashek too.
Right. Let's have a look. Very nice work. Your father taught you the trade well.
He'd certainly be happy to hear that.
If you carry on hammering as well as you did today, you've definitely got a job here. Even so, keep in mind, it's all about making sure every strike does its job. That's why you can't let it get cold, or keep striking the same spot. If you work evenly, each strike falling right next to the last one, you can't go wrong. Got that? Or is there something else you want to ask about?
You having problems with the Zhelyevites?
Not just me, my friend. They're the biggest bastards around. They've been nothing but trouble for years. The winter before last, they piled snow in front of everyone's doors at night, so no one could get out of their house. And last year, they broke into my cellar and pissed in my beer barrel.
Gracious. I hope you got your aim back on them.
Not yet, no. But since you're here, I've got a plan you could help me out with. I'd pay you well. You can count on that.
Well, if you've got it all figured out, why don't you do it yourself?
Right. And who's going to run the inn in the meantime, eh? Besides, everyone in Gelioff knows us. If someone from here shows up there, they'll get suspicious.
All right. I'll help you.
Listen up then. Old Olbram, the owner of the biggest plot of land in Gelioff, has this beautiful bull. White as snow he is. The finest animal far and wide. Obviously, he's very proud of it. Very protective too. Now you, will give his beautiful snow-white bull a nice new coat of paint. Olbram is going to lose his mind. Simple, right?
Painting a bull, eh? That sounds like fun.
Right. We just have to work out a few details. First, we have to get some paint. I don't reckon we'll be able to get any here in the village, but you can try and ask Bartoszek, the tailor in Trotskovitz. I hear he dyes his own fabric. And after that, we'll have to make sure the bull stays still while you're painting it. Try asking Radovan, the local blacksmith. I hear he can make some kind of sleeping potion. If you pour it in the bull's water trough, I'm sure it'll do the trick. But watch out. That beast is enormous. You'd better put at least 3 doses of the potion in there.
All right then. Olbram's bull will be getting a new coat of paint.
Olbram's going to lose his mind. I can't wait. And remember, it's supposed to be a joke. If you get caught or something goes wrong, the whole thing will be ruined.
Right. So I need paint, sleeping potions, and to not get caught. Why do you and the Gelioff lot hate each other so much, anyway?
It's their fault. They keep playing tricks on us. Olbram's the worst of them all. The nasty old codger. He's always coming up with ways to mess with us. He's the one that stole our pasture.
What pasture did they steal from you?
The one that stretches from the orchard behind the Takov down to the gamekeeper's lodge. It's been ours since time immemorial, but the Geliovites took it from us.
And how did they take it from you? You can't exactly stuff a pasture in your purse and walk away with it.
Save the jokes, will you? This is fucking serious. There's a tree down by the gamekeeper's lodge that marks the edge of our land. My father, God rest his soul, was there when they agreed on it. He got a proper arse-kicking so he'd remember it, and remember it he did. But then fucking Olbram came along, claiming it was the other way round, and that pasture belonged to Gelioff.
Well, that's a tough nut to crack. Have you tried asking Lord von Burgos for help?
Of course, but he'd have none of it. He said it's up to the Trotskovitz bailiff to sort it out. But the bailiff couldn't care less. He said we should deal with Olbram ourselves, or he'll have us caned and clapped in the pillory.
And how did they take it from you? You can't exactly stuff a pasture in your purse and walk away with it.
Save the... There's a trick. My but then...
Well...
The youth, year after... And when the Geliovites are out, we managed...
What's new around here?
Vostotek. Lord von Beregov's huntsman is a regular here. He might have some work for you. He's got a cottage near Vidlak Pond. So if you know your way around the woods, you could go and offer him your help. I hope he hasn't started drinking somewhere else. He's my best customer. You could also stop by and see Old Mouth. He's the local storyteller. He could tell you all sorts of interesting things. but only if you bring him some liquor. Don't forget, I have some here to sell, if you want. And that's all I'd say.
Sounds interesting. Thank you, innkeeper.
Welcome. What can I do for you?
People call you the Mouth, right? They say you tell all sorts of stories.
I'm no mouth to you. My name is Denyek. Got that? What do people call you then? Bughead? Arseface?
I'm sorry, Stenyak. I'm Henry.
Pleased to meet you. But you were right about the stories. I could tell you stories so sad they'd make the devil cry. Or would you prefer something so scary it'll make the hairs on your ass turn white? But it's a lot of hard work for me. Now, if you had something to drink or a couple of groschen, that might help loosen my tongue.
To your health, my friend.
Thank you very much. I knew you wouldn't leave me high and dry. So what kind of story would you like to hear?
I like stories that can teach me something. Stories with a moral.
Haven't you heard enough of those in church? But it's not a problem. I have just the tale for you. And it's not one you'll hear from any priest. So, once upon a time, there lived in these very lands 2 brothers. The older was called Kuba, the younger, Matthias. They were both woodcutters like their father and his father before him. One day, at the height of summer, they were working in the woods. The air was as hot as a furnace, so Matthias went to a nearby pond to cool himself. But as he was leaning over the cold water, there was a loud splash. His axe had got loose from his belt. In haste, he began to search the muddy bed of the pond, and his hands soon touched something hard and heavy. He pulled it out and could not believe his eyes. He pulled out an axe. Yes, but not his old one. It was an axe made of pure silver.
Good God. I'd grab that without a second thought.
Maybe you would, but Matthias would never. He was an honest man, and with a big swing he threw the silver axe back. He searched the pond again, and this time he pulled out his own axe. Nothing but dull iron and old wood.
I reckon that was the right choice. Who knows who the silver axe belonged to?
Well, quite. Listen on. Matthias was just about to leave when suddenly a water goblin came out of the pond, silver axe in his hands, and he said, "You're a righteous man, Matthias, and for your honesty, you may keep both axes." Matthias, not hanging around for the goblin to change his mind, took up both axes, gave us thanks, and ran to tell Kuba all about it. Kuba, however, was not best pleased with his little brother's fortune. He deeply envied Matthias for his newfound wealth. So, he set out to try the same thing. He ran as fast as his legs could carry him straight to the pond, threw his own axe in, and began a pretend search for it. Yet Kuba had no luck. He pulled out the axe he'd thrown in himself. So he tried again. Tricked by sunlight, he grabbed something shiny, only to pull out his old iron axe again. Enraged, he hurled his axe back into the water and yelled, "Fuck this axe! I want a silver one!" But the water goblin heard his shameful cry and was greatly upset by Kuba's greed. So, when Kuba reached down into the water for a third time, the water goblin seized his hand, pulled him down whole to the dark depths, and drowned him.
That's so cruel. I feel sorry for Kuba.
Aye, and so did Matthias. He went to the water goblin and begged for his brother's body so he could take him home and bury him. But the path back from the pond led over a steep hill, and carrying the weight of the waterlogged body exhausted Matthias. He stopped to rest by an old oak tree, and he used the silver axe to cut off a branch that would serve as a walking stick. But it wasn't enough. Somehow, it was still getting harder to continue up the hill. Then Matthias realized it wasn't his brother's body that was weighing him down. It was the silver axe. The axe was the cause of all this trouble. So he started bashing the silver axe against the big stone with all his might, trying to destroy it. Yet no matter what, he couldn't even make a dent. With the last of his strength, Matthias climbed to the top of the hill. He knew he could go no further, so he found a pretty spot with a view over the valley and dug his brother a grave. There, he buried both his brother and the silver axe that had brought such pain upon them. His final act was to stick the oak branch in the ground by the grave. But lo and behold, the branch grew green leaves and became a tree. The locals have had no dealings with the water goblin since then, but some have had the bad luck to bump into him. And when you walk by the pier, where it all happened, you can still hear his chuckling.
That was a very nice story.
Story? What story? It's the truth.
Why hasn't anyone gone looking for the axe then?
Because it brings misfortune. Didn't you listen to me at all? Look for yourself if you wish. Rock Tower Pond isn't far from here. The Water Goblin's Pier is somewhere among the reeds. But leave me out of it. I'm fine here with my drink. Farewell.
I need something that'll put animals to sleep. Procek said you might know something.
Did you get tired of blacksmithing and take up farming instead? I just happen to know of something. I used a concoction that will put even a startled mare to sleep in no time. I once accidentally drank some and slept for 3 days. But the recipe is an old blacksmith's secret. The kind you don't just give away. You're in the trade, so I can tell you. Listen up then. You take some poppy and thistle and boil them in oil. Then, after it cools off, you add a little herb Paris.
That doesn't sound too complicated. Thank you. What happened to you?
I'm in big trouble.
How so?
I lost a letter. A very important letter. I was supposed to deliver it to my master by tonight.
Do you know where you might have lost it?
I haven't the faintest idea. It must have slipped out somewhere along the way.
What was in the letter?
I have no idea what it said. For one thing, it was a secret, and for another, I can't read. But it was my master's beloved who sent it. That's why it was so important.
Oh, so it could just as easily have been a lewd verse.
I don't really care what was in it. The point is, I don't have it.
Would you like me to help you look for it?
There's no point now. I've been on the road for 2 days as it is. We'll never make it by tonight.
You should have been more careful with it. Losing the one thing you're supposed to deliver.
I know. So I forgot to check my bag this morning, all right? But now it's gone, and I'm fucked.
I have to be going. I hope you find the letter.
Me too. Because if I don't, I'm in for a lashing.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Wait! I have an idea. Punch me in the face.
What?
Smack me in the gob. I'll say I was ambushed on the way and they took the letter.
Well, if you ask me, you should man up and tell your master the truth.
No way! Might as well crawl into the pillory myself in that case.
And if I give you a thrashing, that's a better solution.
At least I know you won't flay me to a bloody pulp. Will you?
Very well then. Defend yourself. Or not. It's up to you. You ready?
I am.
Holy shit! Take that! I'll get you, fucker!
Are they...
What happened? You look worried.
My husband Vostatek left to go hunting and hasn't come back. I'm worried that something happened to him. He's von Burgo's lead huntsman, and the forest is full of poachers these days.
Maybe he just got caught up somewhere.
Not a chance. We're invited to young Lord Semin's wedding. He wouldn't dare miss that by wandering around the woods for so long. What would Lord Semin think if we didn't show up? It would be a disgrace. He sometimes loses track of time out in the woods, but I've got a really bad feeling about it this time. One time, Vostatek didn't come home for 4 days after his horse broke its leg in the woods. I had a feeling right away that something bad had happened. And I have that same feeling now. Do you reckon you could help me?
Do you know where he might be? Where's his hunting ground?
In all the forests here around Vidlak Pond. He didn't tell me exactly where he was going, but maybe Vitek knows.
Vitek?
Our son.
So your husband got lost when he was out hunting, and you want me to go and find him?
I'd go myself, but Vostatek doesn't want me going to the woods on my own. He says it's dangerous. But you look like a fearless lad, and I'll be sure to reward you for your efforts.
All right. I'll bring Vostatek back to you.
Thank you. I wouldn't send you if I didn't think it was necessary, but I have a really bad feeling about this. Before you leave, please make sure to talk to Vitek. Maybe he'd know where his father was headed.
Why doesn't Vitek go looking for Vostatek then?
I told him, but the lad is young and stubborn. He just doesn't listen to me. And besides, him and Vostatek don't get along very well.
All right. I'll let you know as soon as I find something.
Be careful out there. See you soon, my friend.
We don't do something about it soon.
What are you two talking about then?
A peasant like you would never understand.
Watch your mouth, you impudent dog.
Or what? You'll smear it with that excrement under your fingernails? But let's bicker no more, stranger. Perhaps you can be our judge. What's your name?
My name is Henry.
Then sit, noble Enrico, and give your verdict on our dispute.
Oi, don't be shy. Come and sit with us.
It's Henry. H-E-N... whatever.
Ah, any tanner or bathhouse boy could be called Henry. Enrico is nobilissimo.
Oh, for the love of God. Will you just tell me what you were discussing?
It's just that my dear friend George here is a vulgar louse who knows as much about the art of poetry as a baying donkey.
To tell the truth, my last encounter with verse didn't end all that well.
Really? Come on, let's discuss it over a beer.
Man to man, poet to poet.
Well, I wouldn't exactly say I was...
Sit.
So, are you going to tell me what you're talking about?
It's about nothing less than the very essence of the art of poetry.
And also about the fact that Michael here hasn't got his oats for ages and it's got his brain in a twist.
Kindly ignore our friend George here. He's been a simple soul ever since he was dropped on his head as a baby.
Freedom. I figured out poetry ain't to be found in inspiration from the muse. All the truth in the world is right there in ale, roast pig, and fucking.
To the point where fornication and drinking leave no time for actual composing. Better to forego the pleasures of the flesh and give oneself to art. Onorate l'altissima poeta.
Aye, aye. Keep your hair on, mate. As I said, he's not in his right mind. He once met an Italian poet, and ever since he thinks he's Dante Alighieri.
Alighieri, you dolt. So what do you think, Enrico? Where should a poet seek inspiration?
Why go looking for muses when the whole of God's green earth is filled with inspiration? Like George says, wine, women and song. That's the only poetry you need.
I told you so. Let's drink to that. However you look at it, you, my friend, as a worldly...
And highborn,
clever,
experienced,
intrepid,
unique.
In short, just the right fella.
You might be able to help us out with something.
Look, I don't have all day, so if you have something to say, get straight to the point. without all the poetic horse shit.
That's exactly our way, friend.
Short and to the point. That's us.
Enrico, we are in need of an adventurer.
My name's Henry. H-E-N... something...
In short, Enrico, we're in need of an adventurer, a man of action, a man of goodwill, a man of knowledge, a man.
A fucking good fella.
A fellow who helps his fellow man. Aspiring minstrels.
If only you knew, mate, what genius is sleeping in our throats. Songs just waiting for a voice to raise you to the heights of glory.
Imagine it. An ode to Henry, the hapless, hoe-wielding hero, harassing the heartless hordes of
Humans?
That's it! Hark! Henry the Lionheart! The only thing missing for you to achieve glory is...
A loot! We need a loot!
All right, but where would I even get a thing like that?
In the words of the poet, una volta corre il cane, e una altra la lepre. He who seeks shall find. Or something like that.
And finding it won't be hard. We've done a bit of snooping, and there's only one in these parts.
It's hanging all forlorn on a wall at the carpenters in Troskowitz. The house directly opposite the Rathaus.
It ain't no use to him, but he won't sell it, the tight ass.
While if it were in our hands...
In our hands, it will sing like a nun on Sunday.
And it will be the torch lighting our way from this provincial purgatory to the gates of Kuttenberg.
Torch? Shit, you want to fucking burn it?
It's a metaphor, you ignorant oaf.
All right, I'll see what I can do. Please just quieten down for a bit. I saw you have quite a nice bull here.
Do you mean the white one? It belongs to old Olbram. Or rather, Olbram belongs to the bull. The old geezer don't have nothing else on his mind besides that bull of his. He barely even comes to the inn anymore because he's always watching it.
He watches the bull? How so?
He has his farmhands stand outside the barn with lanterns all night, keeping watch. I can't really blame him. An animal like that is a real rarity. I just feel sorry for the lads.
What's going on around here, innkeeper?
You're not going to believe this, but 2 local lads claim they found a water goblin's treasure.
You have a water goblin here?
It would be a wonder if we didn't, with all the ponds around. He's got a hut nearby. If you follow the right bank of the Rock Tower Pond, you'll find it hidden in the reeds.
Where did you say the water goblin's hut was?
If you follow the right bank of the Rock Tower Pond, you'll find it hidden in the reeds.
And what did they find there? Are you sure they didn't make it up?
I thought so too at first. They're foolish lads, so I wouldn't be surprised. But then they ordered wine and paid with silver. Their purse was jingling with groschen.
Would you happen to know where I could find these lads?
They often swim at the other side of the Rock Tower Pond. There's a pier there by the dam. That's their spot.
Any other news?
Recently, a bunch of charcoal burners who have their kilns on the hill above the Kerchak Pond came here to have a beer. I started talking to them and they told me they almost didn't make it.
Why?
They said a pack of wolves came after them.
Aren't wolves afraid of people?
That's what I thought too. It's strange.
Did they tell you where it happened?
In a gorge above the Rock Tower Pond. They noticed the wolves watching them from the rocks. If you climb up those rocks, you'll be able to see the whole pond from there.
Do you have any more news?
By the way, we've put together this wee fight club here. Would you like to try it?
I don't think that's really for me.
As you wish. If you change your mind, you know where to find me. By the way, old Olbram from Zheleov keeps complaining about the Takovites. If you go and see him, I'm sure he'll tell you more about it. But, well, he takes a bit of getting used to, though.
Oh? What do you mean?
You'll see. I mean, here, and that's pretty much everything.
Thanks, innkeeper. That sounds interesting. Excuse me, I'm looking for a friend of mine. He's not from round here, but...
Let me guess. A dirty ruffian who ain't got a groschen to his name but acts like he owns the bloody place.
He was here then?
Aye, he was. He was larging it up, good and proper, and then he found some lads who paid his bill, unfortunately.
What do you mean by that? Why unfortunately?
Because they're right ruffians who are always up to no good. But still, birds of a feather, eh? In the end, they left like best pals, but I got no idea where they went.
That's a beautiful bull you've got there. You don't see an animal like that every day.
Aye, and nothing is the finest animal far and wide. He wasn't cheap either.
What's an animal like that worth, anyway?
A big, strong bull like him, and pure white too. At least a dozen cows. No, make that 2 dozen. That's why I keep a close eye on him. I have the barn guarded all night. Say, you're a bit too interested in a nutsack. What's this about?
I'm considering buying it from you, but only if it's really worth it.
What are you blabbering about? You walk around in those smelly old rags, and you're telling me you can afford my nutsack? Piss off, before I beat you black and blue.
God bless.
Can I spend the night here?
Not a chance. Move along, you vagabond. Take care.
I heard at the Troskovitz Tavern that you might have a job offer.
Well, you don't look lame. I reckon I could find some work for you.
I also heard you're invited to that big wedding coming up.
That's no business of yours at the moment.
All right. So what kind of work do you have for me?
You'll be carrying sacks of flour.
Well, I probably won't find anything better around here anyway.
The sacks are in the barn, and the wagon is in front of it. I'll give you a groschen for every half dozen you carry. It may not seem like much, but if you don't dawdle, you might even save up for some nag at the Semine stables. I heard they got lucky and recently rounded up a bunch of horses from some company that got routed by bandits. They've got some gray old nag that they're practically giving away. You won't have to buy food. We'll take care of that. And you can sleep here, in the barn. But not on the sacks of flour, you understand? Or I'll tan your hide. Climb up to the loft with the others.
Oh, fuck me.
Careful what you wish for. Go on, get to work.
Kurwa. What the?
Have you got it done? I said, are you done?
You're milling some pretty peculiar grain here, Miller. It's got a bit of a metallic flavour to it.
Kurwa. Can't you be more careful?
Tell me the truth. What are you really doing here?
Seems I'll have to lift the lid off the cauldron of knowledge sooner than I expected. You think you're ready?
Yes.
I'm attempting to convert matter into a truly miraculous energy.
What?
I understand. It seems impossible. I'm sure you're asking yourself what that has to do with the metal in the sacks. But we're only just scratching the surface. You see, for my experiment, I'll need something sinfully earthy. Something we'll have to appropriate. And that's something you can help me with, my curious apprentice.
I'll help you.
That's the right attitude. Now listen up. In Troskovitz, next to the tavern, there's a rat house. And in that rat house, there's a chest. And in that chest is a document I need. One that used to be mine. But due to an unfortunate twist of fate, ended up there. It's called The Offer of Hermes Trismegistos. It's written right on it. Can you read? At least a little?
I can read. But I reckon that's the catch, isn't it?
The catch is, the chest is under lock and key, and most likely well guarded.
Of course it is. And then you'll get me into Semin's wedding?
Aye. If you help me, I'll find a way to get you there. Miller's honor.
I'd like to learn more about the art of thievery.
Thievery? Humph. Why call it the art of thievery? It's simply an art. But all right, enough wordplay. If you want to learn something, go and see Hensel. He'll tell you how to relieve people of the things in their purses, or how to quickly and painlessly send them to the land of dreams. And if you'd like to try opening locks without a key, there's a chest in the barn that you carried the sacks to. You can practice on that.
Where exactly should I look for this document? I doubt they've only got one chest in the Troskovitz rat house.
I can't help you there, but my hand Zinnik might know more. He had the document on him, but then the bloody fool got caught because of something else, and they took it from him. I'm pretty sure he's still on display in the stocks on the square. Just remember, lad, if you get caught like he did, the guards will turn out your pockets. Then it would be pretty hard to explain what a tramp like you is doing with a document he can't even read.
No, I doubt the bailiff will let me roam around the rat house and go peeking through his chests. Any advice on getting in there without being spotted?
Oh, come on. Do I really have to spell it out for you? Black clothes, the play of light and dark. A quiet night, and those who live in the shadows, concealed beneath its veil.
Is that supposed to be advice?
Just get some inconspicuous clothing and head over there after midnight.
And where can I get some clothes like that?
I had my outfit washed in the Gilioff bathhouse, but after a bit of disagreement, they refused to give it back. It's my gift to you. All you have to do is pick it up.
Pick them up? You want me to steal them, don't you?
Doesn't it sound like a suitable appetizer before the main course? There's no sense in trying to deal with the owner, Dorothy, anyway. She's a contrary woman who's impossible to talk to.
I'm not even surprised your paths crossed. All right? I reckon I know everything I need. Thanks. Are you Zinnik?
Yeah, look, mate, I really need to piss. Can you let me out of here?
Crazel sent me. He's looking for some document the bailiff took from you.
And what's the password?
Hermes Trismegistos?
I'm just shaking your pizzle. You should have seen your face. They caught me at night when I was robbing a merchant, and then they make any distinction between what I stole and what I already had on me. They took everything, including that document, and locked it all away in the chest of stolen things in the rat house jail. You could get into the jail from the courtyard behind the rat house. It's right under the guardhouse. Or you could get there from behind the tavern alongside the fence. As soon as you find the stairs leading down, you'll know you're in the right place.
Well, who's got the key to it?
Well, actually I had it, but when the guards shook me down, I must have dropped it. It was in the chamber, next to the one with the chest. They've got a pretty soft bed in there, I tell you. The key probably fell under it.
Is that the only key?
No, of course not. Every guard in Troskovitz has one. Best to rob one of them who's slacking off or having a nap. Look, mate, do you actually know how to pickpocket?
Of course I do. Wouldn't be my first time.
Good to hear it. They'll let me go soon, so if you get caught, you'll have nobody to keep you company here. Keep that in mind.
Take care now. What do you want here?
I heard you have some clothes here that belong to Miller Crazel.
You're damn right I do. They're here waiting for him. Only I had to put them away in a chest in the loft. So I don't have to be constantly reminded of the debt Crazel racked up here. Taking his bloody time he is, the bastard. Those rags have been here for so long, the rats have got into them. Why do you care about them so much anyway?
The Miller mentioned them. Said I could take them.
Are you his new lackey or what? Did Zinnek start to get on his nerves?
Well,
Look, I don't really care who takes them. They're a bunch of boring rags. But if you only knew how much work it was to wash out them particular black stains and sew up the burn holes, and most of all, to wash out that awful stench of rotten eggs. Blah. Along with Crazel's debt, it'll cost you this much, including the price of soap.
fine. I'll pay. My God. That's a price fit for a king's wardrobe.
I told you, that's including the debt. You can sort that out with the miller yourself. Here's the key to the chest in the loft. There's some other forgotten rags lying around near it. That's how you'll recognize it. What are you giving me that look for? You're not going to make me go up and get them, are you?
I wouldn't dream of it.
Don't worry.
Yes. These will make me almost invisible. The offer of Hermes Trismegistos. That's Crazel's document.
Greetings, my friend.
I have that document from the rat house for you.
Excellent. I knew I could count on you.
I took a look at the document. I couldn't really make much of it. Who's this Hermes Trismegistos?
My fifth cousin. We write to each other sometimes.
That doesn't sound very convincing.
Did you find my family tree at the rat house, too? Now show it to me, so I can finally get the knowledge. Good. Good. This will come in handy. Ah, yes. Of course.
What now?
That much? Going to need more. A lot more.
Did you hear me? What now?
Sorry. I got lost in thought. I owe you my thanks as well as reward for getting me the document. And maybe another little job? What do you say?
Don't tell me you've forgotten. I need to get to that wedding in Semi.
Don't worry. Your path is leading that way. Only it'll be a little longer than expected.
You promised you'd get me into that wedding.
I did, but I didn't say when. Besides, things are about to get really interesting. Step by step, we're moving closer to the great revelation.
Enough. I'm sick of listening to your cryptic blabbering. Supposing you first initiate me into the mysteries of your enchanting mill. This isn't any run-of-the-mill business, so to speak. I smell something devilish here.
Devilish? Not at all. It's high learning. Alchemy! And when I say alchemy, I mean real alchemy. Not some hocus-pocus brewing of potions for creaky joints and bellyache.
Tell me more about it, then. Maybe I'll learn something useful.
I wouldn't be so sure. But I've taken you on as an apprentice, so I might as well tell you something. Now, pay close attention. I want to make a golem out of dough. Then, using secret alchemical practices and theurgy, Bring him to life.
A golem? What's that?
A golem is a helper brought to life using divine words. A living statue endowed with massive strength. Can be made of clay, wood, stone, basically anything. I'll make one out of flour. Studying the Jewish Kabbals taught me a practice known as Maseh Bereshit. A mystic can use it to imitate the work of God. Just imagine. You know how helpful a golem would be at the mill? Carrying sacks, pulling wagons, standing guard. He wouldn't be much smarter than Zinnik, but he'd have the strength of 10 men.
My word. That sounds incredible. I have to see it.
So far, it's just all in my head. But if you're patient and help me, you'll see soon enough. It's in the interest of the advancement and prosperity of mankind. Just look at the Bible. Moses could command the waters and speak to God through the element of fire. Jesus brought the dead back to life. I've no doubt that if our great Holy Mother Church had been around at the time, they'd have crucified Jesus the same as the Pharisees. And all the apostles would have been burned at the stake.
So a golem, you say, made of flour? For the good of mankind?
Exactly!
And what about the good of me? You promised me a reward.
You already know that you can learn the practical application of certain useful skills from me. But for a few groschen, we could discuss the art on a more, let's say, theoretical level.
I'm overwhelmed with gratitude. Supposing you give me a few groschen first, as a reward for bringing you the document, and then I'll decide whether to trade the coin for some learning.
Oh, see now, I completely forgot. Here you go. So you don't go around saying that Miller Crazel is a pinch purse. I added in what I owe for those sacks you carried. And if you want some more work, there's plenty.
What's this next job all about?
I need to find a saltpeter pit.
Never a wasted word, eh, Crazel?
Short and to the point. That's my credo.
And how long will it take before you tell me what a saltpeter pit is?
A saltpeter pit is a pit in which saltpeter is formed.
This has something to do with that alchemy of yours, eh? I don't know much about that stuff.
Nitra is saltpeter. White crystals similar to salt.
And what needs salting here in the mill? Or is it supposed to be some peculiar Crazel wedding gift for a young semi?
Nothing of the sort. The Kabbalistic doctrine speaks of saltpeter as a vessel for the inexhaustible essence of life. Those white crystals are said to contain the very essence of being. That's precisely what we need to give life to our golem. Thanks to the ingredients from Hermes Trismegistos, his feet will never get tired and his fists will have the power to smash rocks. But saltpeter is the most important thing. Saltpeter will be the golem's heart.
So you're serious about this golem? And are you certain it'll work out?
Certainly. Otherwise, I wouldn't even try.
How much saltpeter will it take to bring to life such a big creature?
A lot. That's why I want you to find me a decent saltpeter pit. Do you understand?
I was hoping I'd learn something useful from you. But instead, you're making me wander around the countryside looking for some pit.
Well, you never know when an experience like that might come in handy.
All right, then. I'll look around for that saltpeter pit of yours. I just hope you know where to look, that you can point me in the right direction, and also that you'll get me into that wedding as a reward.
Yes, yes, and yes. Bonnie has a lead. She's a damned handy girl to have around. She can do anything you ask of her. But for you, the most important thing is that she knows how to look for niter, or saltpeter if you prefer.
So this Bonnie is some kind of witch who's in on this golem stuff.
Bonnie is someone I trust without question, and you should too. Not only will she teach you how to find saltpeter, but also how to differentiate it from common salt. The main difference is it has kind of cooling taste.
Hold your horses. You want me to taste that nasty stuff?
If you don't taste it, you could confuse it with some nasty rot. You don't want that.
Damn right.
Don't be such a lily liver, Henry. If Bonnie can taste saltpeter, so can you. She'll tell you the rest herself. You'll find her in the lair. That's a secret storage space I have here just by the pond. Only my best people can get in.
How can I get to this lair?
There's a bridge over the mill stream towards the southwest. Take the path to the left, just behind it along the pond. From that path, you turn right, uphill, between the rocks, and you'll find yourself right in front of the lair. You can't miss it. Oh, and so I don't forget. You could pick some herbs along the way to see Bonnie. It would make her very happy. She's just been through some tough times. Her dog died, and on top of that, she has to spend time with that blabbermouth, Zinnik. On the other hand, Zinnik might be holding his tongue for a while after his encounter with the Troskowitz stocks.
If Bonnie spends time with Zinnik, she may want some spirits rather than herbs.
Bonnie? Never. Being a decent Christian, she avoids alcohol like the plague. Run along, so you're back as soon as possible.
To the lair.
See you soon.